So, in the last video you found us crawling round in those horrendous tunnels which were the old water intake tunnels for the old Stockport power station. Quite a unique opportunity because the power station was closed in 1976 and was demolished about 40 years ago. So it's fantastic to find those old tunnels. We won't even speak about this thing because it seemed to trigger a lot of people, including myself. Now, opposite that old penstock there, we had this old water tunnel. Now, this water tunnel leads us on to the second part of the story, or really the beginning of the story, because this tunnel is an extension of a very, very old corn mill tunnel, a tunnel that brought water for the old corn mills of Stockport. In some literature, it's referred to as the ancient corn mill tunnels. So in this video we overlap with the power station video, but these water tunnels that we encountered take us back to the late 1700s and the Industrial Revolution, when water and the ability to harness water power meant profit and power. So join us on the second part of the story as we try to investigate Stockport's ancient corn mill tunnels. Stringer's Weir, built around about 1791. If places could talk, oh how you'd love to have a conversation with this thing.
Is Stringer's Weir, a very, very important part of our story. In fact, it's where the story begins. Right, so what's the significance of actually being here then?
Right, well in short, obviously this is where the weir fed the ancient corn tunnels and the water tunnels that powered mills and such like around Stockport. I'll let Martin elaborate a bit more on that.
Indeed, Stringer's Weir, very, very, very important. 1791, Stringer's Weir, can you believe? And it was back in the days where corn mills and water power ruled supreme. And obviously the masterstroke was putting a weir in the middle of a river and taking off a feed of water, as we know. And they took off a feed of water and it fed several of the corn mills and the water wheels at the corn mills in Stockport. Ironically, it also plays a role in our story about the Stockport power station tunnels, because the water, when it was no longer used for the corn mill tunnels, it was used for the power station, can you believe? Just here on the banks of the Goyt, we just walked down and we've found this. You can tell obviously this has been something industrial. It's a piece of stone, probably a machine bed. It's got the cut in it there. This is what I love. You know, amongst all the pebbles and the river, you've got something quite old here and quite industrial. We're in a loop here of the River Goyt, and that's what they did back in the day. They exploited the loops. So where you get a loop like that, a meander, they dug a tunnel across between the loops. So they took the feed from the flow direction, powered the mill, and then run it back onto the other side of the loop, returned it back to the river, the water. Just down here, down the river down here, is one of the first tunnels that they did, called the Baker House Tunnel. And that very much was the embryonic stages of the exploitation of those meandering loops of the River Goyt. And it just literally goes straight across the loops. We've had a quick look down here, but we can't see the entrance to it. There you go, the two black X's there mark the start, the entrance and the exit of one of the earliest tunnels. And it was called the Baker House Tunnel, and it dates back to 1732, can you believe? Very workable sandstone in Stockport, so they had that in their favour. You'll also hear me refer to these tunnels as the ancient corn mill tunnels. I know that ancient things are much older than the 1700s, but that's what a lot of the literature refers to them as, so I'm going to just call them the ancient or corn mill tunnels or the old corn mill tunnels. You'll also notice on that map there were some other tunnels, but we'll come back to those. So these ancient corn mill tunnels that played such an important role during the Industrial Revolution in Stockport, that later played a role in bringing water to Stockport Power Station. Are they still there? Can we still get in them? Well, not all of them, but there is one that we can get into. It's called Stringer's Tunnel. I'm going to take you into it now. I don't want to take you into it because I'm now going to bring Roy in, who's going to give us a bit of a warning about Stringer's Tunnel. But I'm going to show it you so you know what we're talking about when we talk about the ancient corn mill tunnels. Come here. Right. Give us the warning about what we're about to see.
Well, you know your best friend, the silts and the mud. I think you're about to see that again.
Right.
Now, I have mentioned this in the past, that there's silt and everything else that you love about these tunnels here in Stockport. I know you've waited a long time to see these.
Making me ill this now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But basically, I'm going to show you Stringer's Tunnel. I'm going to give you a glimpse of it so you can see it. He wants to get in and start wallowing in the mud. I'm just going to do what I can and give you a quick glimpse of what we're talking about. Let's crack on.
Come on then.
Okay, so we've got a penstock control mechanism here. This would have had a mechanism on the top that you wound that would have lifted a doorway or a penstock to allow water to rush into the tunnel we're about to get into.
See, that's open chop now, that's all of it. Like Gorton Falls. Jesus, shit. Right, let me just get into the tunnel a minute. Right.
He's done the Velcro, it's not going to ravel now.
It might. I need to get out of the way just in case it comes down on my head.
Are you clear?
I'm clear. And make sure at all times it's leaning against the existing ladders so you can actually just...
That's coming down. Can you get it?
In a minute. 1 minute, I need to get out of the sill. I'm scared of it. Just don't let go though. No, I can't. Swing it out. Swing it to me. You're holding the sling, that's it. Right. Lower. Can you let go?
I'll let go now, yeah?
Go on. Right. You'll have to position them better when you...
Okay, so this palaver putting the ladder down, I know we could, the bottom end of the ladder on the wall is missing, so we could just get to the bottom of the ladder and jump like Roy did. It's getting back out, it's pulling yourself, hauling yourself back up in your waders. So let's just make life easy and lower an extension ladder down.
Oh, it stinks. You good to come down, Parky?
Not yet.
No, but will you be?
Yeah, will be.
No, it's just very shit all
Oh, what the f***? Right, what have you got us into?
You can see there where the water would have come in, probably modified now, full of crap because people just throw stuff down there. That's our ladders we've had to use to get down the shaft. Right, so here we are, Stringer's Tunnel, an absolute festering shithole, another one of Roy's specials. I'm stood on a nice bit of mud here at the minute. This is quite firm, but it's actually dangerous as in it almost becomes like quicksand. Right, so Roy's got his full gas, his gas meter. We're going to attempt to go down there. Although it looks okay, you'll see that we're actually, look how much is stuck in the mud there. And I hate this, so I'm going to do what I feel comfortable with.
Actually, it's that foot stuck.
So it's a bad place to come, this, it's not good at all. So he's stuck now.
Just stay to there, the foot just sinks. Yeah. Enough for them to be able to pull it out, but go any further.
Yeah, no point going any further.
No, you're right here.
He's stuck here.
Don't look that side. Bottom's out in the water.
He's farting.
Come up here, Martin, it's alright, it's not bad. Just stick to the left. Once your foot sinks it, it's solid.
Yeah,
It can't go any further.
He's just Are you just in the back?
No, he's coming. You can see why now we mentioned using the Lilo.
Goes on for about a mile that way. I will sort of show you the rough direction in which it goes. Not recommended to come down here, full of stinking horrible mud, probably gas, and you're likely to get stuck as you come in. What gets me is the way the sandstone, it's almost like concrete, you know, must have been that easy to tunnel through. It's so, it's such a smooth cut on the tunnel is basically what I'm trying to say. And the scary thing here is you can see the waterline where the water's been up to. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a break from the mud for a moment. What is this tunnel that we're in? Well, as you know, it's Stringer's Tunnel. Dates from around about 1791, and it was built at the same time as the weir. Stringer's Weir, cut into sandstone. It exploits again that loop in the river, as you can see, and it runs in a kind of a straight line. There is some meanderings, runs in a kind of a straight line over towards Reynolds Mill, and then beyond the mill there will be an outflow back into the River Goyt. You'll notice that the shaft there, that's on New Zealand Road. Good luck if you want to try and find that, because I think it's capped and it's about 60 foot now at that point deep. So it's a 60-foot drop into quicksand. We don't get as far as that because, as you can see, this tunnel is just absolutely horrendous. I'm going to guess that the tunnel is about half a mile to a mile long. That's not very good, is it? But it's not that long. No, certainly no more than a mile long. I would imagine it struggles to meet a mile long. But that's what we're in. What I want to draw your attention to is the tunnel just below it that kind of duplicates it. Why was that? I shall come back to that later in the video. Let's crack on.
You okay? Yeah. Safety check. Oh, it's smelly here. Wait a minute. What? Yeah. I must have hit a pocket of gas. Alright. Right, we're not going to go any further than this today, I don't think, Parky, because it's into that horrible deep silt now. Yeah. Right, I'm getting stuck. I'm stuck. Let's come back. Oh shit. It's like quicksand there. Yeah. Oh man. The problem is now, because I've dragged the water down with me, making it stick in the mud more. So obviously the tunnel carries on up in that silt beyond that dry section. And I've been up there years ago, and it was like that for a good distance, and it gets more and more unforgiving, shall we say. I'm going to head back now, because obviously we just wanted to show this for the purposes of the video. Not the best up there, Parky, you know? No. Sinking, stuck.
There's Marcus.
It's bad, but it's impressive at the same time.
Does it just go on and on?
Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is it worth coming?
Yeah. Just so.
Let's just get out of here now. Stand on my swing, please.
Oh. Right. Will do.
Push him to the left if you can. What did you make of that then?
I wish I'd have gone in further, but you're not going to break any records going in there. Okay, below.
Yes, Parky? We reckon that, mate?
I'm alive.
Right, so now we have to get the ladder from back down there. So,
Right, can you grab the sling somehow?
yeah, we'll try and go.
Now I need to come to a lower level to grab it.
Yeah. Back it. Right, no, I want some footage now. Yeah, you can do.
Park, you have to climb out.
Right. Most of the mills that we're talking about that were driven by these water wheels that were reliant on these tunnels, these water tunnels here in Stockport, have gone without trace. That there is Reynolds Mill, or was Reynolds Mill, a shadow of its former self. And believe it or not, that is part of the story. I think I've got some of the old photos where they're tampering about with the old water tunnels behind Reynolds Mill. Back in the 1950s, when the power station and some of its infrastructure was undergoing a bit of an upgrade. I'm a bit baffled by some of the pictures, but they're incredibly interesting, and this is one of the locations. Okay, so let me shed some light on what I've just said. So as I'm sort of researching this video and the original video, Stockport Power Station, I come across these pictures, and it looks like, as I said in the first video, there were two upgrades, because the power station was built in 1898, so it had a life of like nearly 80 years. So it looks like there was an upgrade in 1930s and the 1950s. Look at this picture here. Inside, this is dated 1957, and you'll see there's lots of work going on. Now, let me just bring you to this map here, this old map, and you'll see it says Newbridge Lane Mill. Well, that's Reynolds Mill where we are, and you'll see above Newbridge Lane Mill it says Reservoir, which will put into context the next picture, and this one again is dated 1957. Now, I think what we're looking at there is one of those, at the back there you can see the original corn mill tunnel, and look how they're relining it with concrete. And I think this is for the power station to bring water. So they're utilising the old corn mill tunnels, the water tunnels. It's obviously fed Newbridge Lane Mill, Reynolds Mill at some point. It actually goes on, and I'll show you where it goes on to, or it did go on to. But look at the relining work, and I think that relining work is this that we're seeing here. This is from the original power station video we did last time. And this is an extension or a relining of those original water tunnels. It's just utilising the work done back in the 1700s, and it's putting a modern lining into it to feed the power station. And just flicking back to the other video, the power station video, which if you haven't watched, you really should. Don't do it yet, but I will put a link in the first comment. I'll pin it in the first comment of this video. If you look at this, I mean, look how old that looks. That looks so old, and as we get up the steps and you go around the corner, this tunnel seems to me to predate the power station, cut into the sandstone. So this power station has utilised a lot of the existing water tunnels in Stockport. Now we're going to go up here, just up the road a little bit, because Marcus wants to tell you something.
So behind me here was Prison Street. It is gone now, but remember back to Stringer's Tunnel. A calamity occurred here in 1903, including Stringer's Tunnel.
So, what happened down here on Prison Street in 1903? Well, let me read you this newspaper report. Startling incident at Stockport. On Sunday at 17 Prison Street, Stockport, the floor of the kitchen built over a huge culvert suddenly collapsed and disappeared. The house was occupied by a family named Clues, and about 1 o'clock Mrs. Clues, with baby in her arms, was just stepping into the kitchen when she saw a flag turn over and disappear. A moment later, the whole floor with the furniture fell into a huge hole. Mrs. Clues, terror-stricken, ran out of the house, followed by other members of the family. An old lady aged 64 who was suffering from a broken ankle was carried out by her son. A panic prevailed in the street, and the neighbours, believing that the houses were about to collapse, hastily removed their furniture. The presence of the culvert was unknown to the inhabitants. The culvert runs from Vernon Park and supplies several mills with water. There you go. On Monday, owing to the culvert being blocked, several mills were unable to commence work, nearly 1,000 work people being thrown idle. 4 houses over the culvert where the collapse took place were on Monday pulled down by workmen as they were considered unsafe. Poor old grandma in the kitchen, and the bloody floor opened up, and it was one of the tunnels. We think it was Stringer's, but as we'll find out, or we found out, there were many. This place is riddled with the old water tunnels, so it was definitely one of them that was the culprit. Calamitous! Now, you will notice that some of these tunnels double up. in particular where you see Stringers there and the duplicate tunnel just below it that kind of runs in the same direction from that side of the river. If you look here further along the River Goyt into Stockport, you'll see they double up again. Now, some of them obviously have to run out towards the river, but why these parallel tunnels? What's going on there? Well, allow me to try to explain. Why so many water tunnels?
Industrial wars.
Industrial wars indeed. I'm going to try and give you an insight of what went on. I think it was around about the late 1700s, early 1800s of another calamity of 2 mill owners and the people involved. It's very difficult to get my head around. I'll try and go through some of it with you, and it explains why there's so many of these water tunnels in Stockport. Okay, so it's complicated and it's industrial espionage back in the 1700s. So you had the Howard family who were running these corn mills, 5 sons, Joseph, William, Abraham, Thomas and Jesse. And you had another corn mill entrepreneur called Peter Marsland. Now where does Stringer come in? Well, Stringer bought one of the early leases off the Howard family and was running one of the mills. And with one of the members of the Howard family, he applied for permission on one of the banks of the River Goyt to build the weir, and hence it became Stringer's Weir. He then also was heavily involved in the engineering of Stringer's Tunnel to bring water from where the weir was over to the mills. It is said that when there was normal water flow in the Goyt, they were extracting so much water from the Goyt that it almost ran dry. That's how extensive these tunnels got in the early 1800s. So what happened? Well, I think it sounds like Marsland at some point was relying upon Stringer's tunnel on one of the tunnels, but the Howard family were expanding rapidly and putting new water wheels in and basically taking out all the water. Marsland was suffering, nearly went bankrupt. It resulted in sort of like wars whereby Marsland would gather all his men up and Howards would gather their men up, pitch battles at night time, sabotaging the weir, sabotaging each other's the sill in front of the water wheel, so it says, so they couldn't run. Marsland could only run at night time. The law got involved. They were throwing, in the meantime, there's pitch battles are going on. They're throwing paving slabs at each other. It's a right palaver. Long and short, Marsland, as a result of this, went absolutely crazy and just said, right, I'm just going to build my own tunnels, and just doubled up. Where there was a tunnel, he doubled up and he'd made a new tunnel next to it and took his own water supply. And that's why you get this duplication of these tunnels in Stockport. That's a massive simplification of an excellent story, but it's too much to say on here. Everything that went on, it was crazy. All for profit. Stringer Street, obviously named after the weir and the tunnel, as you know now. Just up here, to the left of the camera, was a place called Stringer's Yard. There was Stringer's Court as well, but a lot of little areas where there was very old housing. There you go, Stringer Street, and I'm sat at the top end there, near the top of the picture. And as we zoom in, you've got Stringer's Place and Stringer's Yard. Now, look at this little gem that I found. Stringer's Yard. There it is, and that picture is dated 1909. I think there's a few little faces there in the distance looking at the camera. So here we are back at Stockport Power Station, full circle. And in the last video we talked about cultural references and how the power station appeared in things kind of unwittingly. It was caught in a film and in a famous photograph, and it gave us a glimpse into what it looked like. Well, I've got another cultural reference for you. And it's our favourite, the 1961 film A Taste of Honey. Part of it was filmed here in Stockport. Initially we get a shot here at St Mary's Church with the power station in the background. Now I don't know if it's the lenses, but the power station looks massive. Here in the background you get a good view of the power station and the gasworks. And we get a scene with Rita Tushingham and Murray Melvin talking about the baby. She's pregnant and she's talking about the baby she's about to have. But we get this fantastic viewpoint of the power station. The single cooling tower, and of course to the right of Rita Tushingham there, Joe, we can see the wooden cooling towers. This film is a glorious insight into bygone Manchester, and there again you can see the wooden cooling tower. Now, even though we talk of the late 1700s, early 1800s, ironically, the Goyt is still employed in producing energy, because just up behind the camera up here is a modern day Archimedes screw, and it's turning a screw and it's generating power for the local area. I'll just show you. And this is it. This is how the Goyt is still making power today. This is a 100 kilowatt Archimedes screw. It was completed in 2017. And believe it or not, a friend of Roy's worked on it over the time it was being built. Anyway, it provides power for the nearby Pear Mill. So good to see Stringer's Weir and the Goyt in 2024 still being employed. Right, so there you go, Stockport Power Station, and it's old tunnels that still exist. Fantastic to know that they're still there. And the old water tunnel, Stringers. It's been quite a thing to film. It's been very, very interesting for me. What was your favourite bit?
I think the look on your face when we stood in that silt in the Stringers.
My favourite was the look on your face when you got to that penstock. What was your favourite, Marcus?
I liked the whole bit around the penstock. I didn't go under it, but I just liked that whole section. I think it was quite a challenge, and I like that.
Going down.
Yeah, I like that bit.
It was a bit new to you, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
it weren't like a water-filled tunnel.
No, it's the biggest challenge I've had in from all urbex I've done. That's the biggest challenge I've ever done, but I enjoyed it.
Anyway, James was with us when we did the power station tunnels. For a lot of this filming above ground, he's not been able to make it. He's been working, he's been doing things, so unfortunately he's not been part of the above ground story. But thank you, Roy, thank you, Marcus, and thank you, James. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.